Hello, everyone. Welcome to Premium Law Access. Good to see you all, and thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be talking about the key facts of the Immigration Reform Bill, and that's exactly the United States Citizenship Act of 2021. That's supposed to be the comprehensive immigration bill. So tonight, I'm going to discuss the key facts, and this is going to expand over a lot of episodes because I'll be going piece by piece to enable you to understand what it's all about. So first off, what's the main purpose of this bill? Really, it is to create an end part to citizenship for most undocumented immigrants or residents in the United States. The other purpose, really, again, is to find out solutions for migration. Why are people actually migrating to the United States? And to be able to provide solutions for such migrations. Another purpose is in the southern border, like Texas, where we have an influx of people coming into the country wanting to find out better ways of managing this influx, because there's so many neighboring countries that are pouring and flowing into the United States. So this is another that's another purpose of having this act. Well, and finally, an overhaul of the U.S. immigrant system. So that's really what the purpose of this United States Citizenship Act is all about. Now, it is a bill that consists of 353 pages. And compared to other comprehensive bills in the past, which unfortunately have not succeeded to become law, this is really short. And the reason is because it does not have enforcement provisions. Enforcement provisions are really what will happen to you if you violate a section of the law. So it does not contain, this bill does not contain enforcement provisions. Now, the big task in passing this bill is that we need 60 votes, both Republican and Democratic votes, in order for this bill to pass. So we're a long ways from that, and I will attend to this towards the end of this presentation. So really, in this presentation, what I'll be talking to you about really will be where we are now and what will happen if this bill were to pass. So I'm going to do a comparative analysis of this bill, okay? First off, I'll start with the word alien. Alien is really, as we have it now, means anybody who is not a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. That is how they are addressed as we have it now in the Immigration Act. But with the new bill, if it passes, it will now be, people will now, if you're not a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, you will now be addressed as a non-citizen, not an alien. I think I prefer that, and I guess you too would. Now, for adjustment of status, if you're in here as a non-immigrant, you can adjust your status to a lawful permanent resident. And that is currently what we have. For the earned part to citizenship, that's if the bill passes, you will now have the status of a lawful prospective immigrant. So this is going to be an LPI. And what we currently have is an LPR, lawful permanent resident. So with the current bill, under the current law, if you're a permanent resident or you're applying for a permanent resident and you're applying for your wife and your children, you have to apply separately for each one of them. If you have 7 children, you have to apply, they have to have separate applications. But with this new bill, under the Lawful Prospective Immigrants Bill, if you apply for yourself, your wife and children can come under one application. Now, under the lawful permanent resident status, that's the green card, If you are approved, you're either given a conditional residence for 2 years or for 10 years. With the LPI, if you are approved, you are approved for 6 years. And that can be renewed again for another 6 years, unless it's revoked. So with the under the current law, if you're approved for a green card, you get a green card. That's a lawful permanent resident status card. And then for the LPI, if it becomes approved or passes in the Congress, then you're going to get an LPI card that will be issued to you. So we have some similarities with both bills, with what we have currently and what will happen with the LPI status. So things like Social Security number, yes, if you're a lawful permanent resident, you can get a Social Security number assigned to you. Same as the LPI, you get a Social Security. You'll be authorized to work. If you're a lawful permanent resident, you can work anywhere, same as the lawful prospective immigrant, if it passes. You can also travel outside the United States currently as a lawful permanent resident, but you can't stay more than, you're not encouraged to stay more than 180 days. That's 6 months. Same thing with the lawful prospective immigrants. You can also travel, but you're not allowed to stay more than 180 days. Now, if you are, as a lawful permanent resident, you can apply for health care and under the Affordable Care Act, and you may be eligible for the exemptions and tax benefits. But under the LPI, you are not eligible for that, to even apply for the ACA, Affordable Care Act, and you're not going to be eligible for tax benefits or credits. You are allowed in both scenarios, either as a lawful permanent resident or a lawful prospective immigrant. You're allowed to join the armed forces. In both scenarios, yes, you can join the armed forces. So now I'm going to tell you again the differences as to how you can qualify to become a lawful permanent resident. That's what we have now. And if the bill passes, how you can qualify from a lawful prospective immigrant to a lawful permanent resident, how you can adjust your status. So right now, in order to become a lawful permanent resident, you must have entered the country legally. That you must have been admitted and inspected in before you enter the country, or you may have been paroled and inspected before you enter the country. So that's the main difference. You really have to you must have been admitted lawfully into the country. In the case of the lawful prospective immigrants, in that case, you may not have entered the country legally. You may have been here illegally. You may have overstayed your visa and all that. But what matters in this scenario is that you are in the country. You are physically present in the country by the cutoff date of January 1st of 2021. So in that case, you are really not required to have entered here lawfully. That's the main difference. So in the non-immigrants, in the adjustment of status, in order for you to apply for adjustment of status, you must have been physically present in addition to for you to have been admitted and inspected. You must be physically present. You must submit an application for adjustment of status. You must pay the relevant fees in order for you to be eligible for adjustment of status. But as a lawful prospective immigrant, if that bill passes, it's not necessary for you to have entered the country lawfully. Secondly, you have to apply for the adjustment of status. You must also be able to pay the fees. You must pay the fees. You must be physically present, and you must be continuously present that is from that cutoff date of January 1st of 2021. And you should be here till the application is adjudicated. That's unless unless something else happens. But you really should be here from the beginning of the application, when you put in the application, up to the end of the application, when either you're denied or approved or anything. You really have to be here. So you need to maintain continuous presence. In some situations, there's a waiver of that continuous presence, and I'll get into that in another episode. So for people who are in here in the country, that entered the country by January 1st of 2021, either with a visa or without a visa, enter with a visa, overstayed their visa, or entered the country, excuse me, or entered the country without a visa, that's entered illegally. All these people, so long as you are in the country by January 1st of 2021, you're eligible to apply for the LPI status. However, there's a long haul because this bill is far from, there's long ways for this bill to be implemented. It has been presented to the House, but then it has not been debated, and it's far, there's a long process for it to become law. But when it does, it's going to benefit a lot of people. So for the lawful prospective immigrants, your criminal background is key. You may not have committed a felony or 3 misdemeanors or more for offenses involving the simple possession of cannabis or any cannabis paraphernalia. So you really do not want that on your record, because that will make you ineligible for this status, the LPI or the LPR status, if you're adjusting from LPI to the LPR. So in order for you to adjust from the LPI status, lawful prospective immigrant status, to the LPR, lawful permanent resident status, you must have been in the LPI status for at least 5 years before you can adjust to a lawful permanent resident, before you can get your green card. And then you must have paid all your federal taxes. So now, before the bill actually becomes law, this is a time to tidy up all those ends. If you have not been paying your taxes, this is a time to pay your taxes. And you have to avoid getting into trouble. No criminal record. If you have a felony, yes, that might affect you. But we don't know yet. There might still be exceptions because the bill has not been passed, and there might be exceptions. But the better thing is avoid those scenarios. You don't have a criminal record, and even if you're accused of a crime, don't be too quick to enter into plea deals. This is a time for you to really review, to know what your options are, and it's a good thing to contact a criminal law attorney as well as an immigration attorney, to know what the implications are before you take a plea. So now these are really the introductory parts of the bill, and like I said, in the coming sessions or episodes, I will be breaking down these parts of the bill in piecemeal to help you understand what it contains, so that we know that at least when it's being debated on the floor, you're able to follow along and know that this is what it contains and this is what it has in there for you. So that really brings me to the end of what the bill contains, and having done that comparative analysis of where we are now, and if the bill were to pass, who are those to benefit from this bill. Now, the people who cannot benefit from this bill are, if you already have a lawful permanent resident status, if you already have a green card, you really cannot benefit from this bill because you already have a bill. We already have your green card. Also, if you're a refugee and you have a refugee status, you're not eligible to apply for this. You're not eligible to apply, as well as if you have an asylum. If your asylum is approved and you are an asylee, you're not eligible to apply for this new status. That's the LPI status. So it's good for you to know all of this so that you know what it contains. So like I said, this is just an introductory session of what to let you know what it contains, what the bill contains. So I will be, I'm going to have a lot more episodes to help you, to carry you along, to help explain what that bill really contains. Like I said, it's 353 pages, but I'm going to be comparing what we have now and why this will be a better bill, especially for people who have overstayed and who are here illegally. So now I'm going to give you the updates really about immigration, what has happened in the past few weeks. So the United States Citizenship Act bill, that's the one I just introduced, was actually introduced to the House of Representatives by Representative Sanchez of California on February 18 of 2021. Now, that bill has 129 co-sponsors. And then at the same time, it was also introduced by Senator Menendez of New Jersey on February 22nd of 2021. And that bill has 26 co-sponsors. But then there is nothing else happening. No hearing has been scheduled, but we're hopeful that something will be scheduled maybe sometime, we don't know when, but really no hearing has been scheduled. So this bill is far from being law yet. The process has just begun, but then it has to be debated. It has to be voted upon before the president signs it into law. And like I said earlier, we need 60 votes, Republican and Democratic votes. The Democrats are only 50 in the House, so we need 10 Republican votes. So hopefully, fingers crossed, let's see if we can get that. If we have that, hopefully then we'll have a comprehensive immigration reform, which will benefit a lot of people. So we're all looking forward to that in the immigration community. So the next update is that President Biden rescinded Proclamation 10014. This is good news, I would say. And what this is about is it's the proclamation which was issued by former President Trump. And this was issued last year, really the main purpose of this was to ban immigrants from entering the country based on economic reasons resulting from the COVID-19, what do you call it? I'm sorry, I'm losing my thoughts here. Because of the COVID-19. So that was issued by President Trump and preventing immigrants because they are saying that we don't have enough because of the economic situation. A lot of citizens, lawful permanent residents have lost their jobs. So he put in this bill and this proclamation to prevent more immigrants from coming here to work, to live permanently and all that. So President Biden this year actually recently rescinded that Proclamation 10014. And this has affected people who have won the 2021 Diversity Visa Lottery are able to come into the country now. Those who are who have had immigrant visas can now reunite with their families, whether by family or by employment. They are now allowed to come back into the country. So that's really good news because this will really unify a lot of families. And because of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, people can now travel and come into the country. So this is really good news, and we're all excited about this. So the next proclamation is the Proclamation 10052. This is the ban by President Trump based on the same reasons, on economic reasons resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. And this, again, affects non-immigrants. So the only one that was rescinded was the one for immigrants. The one for non-immigrants has not been rescinded. So this is still in place, and it affects people who have H-1B. These are non-immigrant visas, the work visas, the H-2B visas, and the L visas. These people are still impacted. But where the immigration community is mounting a lot of pressure on the Biden administration. So hopefully he will also rescind this and allow these people to come in to work and to reunite with their families. So we're all looking forward to that. Then another good news, it's the Citizenship Test. So before President Trump left, there was a change to the Citizenship Test, which now increased it from 100 questions to 128 questions. And then there was a new test, the test of 2020, Citizenship Test of 2020, where people now would have to study 128 questions. They're expected to be tested on 20 questions and expected to pass 10 questions in order for them to be eligible to pass the English the English test criteria. But now President Biden has rescinded that and reverted to the 2008 Citizenship Test. So what that means is effective March 1st of 2021, people are now expected to take the test, the 100 questions, study the 100 questions, where you'll be tested on 10 questions and you're expected to pass 6 questions. So we're no longer doing the 128 questions. So that's good news. So you can now stick with that and I guess have fewer questions to answer just to meet up with that requirement for naturalization. So the bills that are presented for voting, the ones that have been reintroduced by the House, the American Dream and Promise Act. This is for the dreamers. That has been reintroduced and is going to likely pass, according to Nancy Pelosi. Also the one for TPS and deferred action. That's the deferred action, and the one for farm workers. That's the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. These ones are likely to pass in the House of Representatives, but we'll see what happens in the Senate. So these ones are quick. These ones are on a faster track than the United States Citizenship Act of 2021. These ones are on a faster track. So we're talking about DACA, we're talking about TPS, we're talking about the farm workers. So those ones may likely get the green card eligibility before the United States Citizenship Act, and for the 11 million people who are affected by that. So really, that's all I have for today, and I hope you found this useful. Thank you for tuning in, and like I said, I welcome your questions, your feedback, your comments. Please feel free to share with others who will need this information, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.